What if you and I unify in you and I DY? What if you and I unify in you and I DY? What if you and I unify in you and I DY?
Hey, what's going on, people? You're watching the Unity Sessions. We're joined today by special guest Jemimah Paine. I've been following her career for a little while. I'm really looking forward to getting a bit deeper, seeing what's going on there. Jemimah, how you doing?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me today. How are you?
I'm well. It's been a blessing. So as you know, we've been listening to your music for a little while now. Really peaceful. Really kind of, it feels like a soul massage, I'd say, whenever we get to kind of hear from you. What would you say has been kind of that influence? Is it a personality thing? Do you find yourself quite mellow and calm, or where does that sound come from?
That's really interesting, actually, because I'm definitely like quite an energetic extrovert kind of aware kind of person, which actually sometimes doesn't come across in my music. I guess it's much calmer, and I actually just think that my music, I recognize that I really want to use it as to minister to people, and for me, minister to them in more of a calm way, I guess. So I guess my calling influences that, actually, and what I feel like God's put on my life.
Yeah, nice. So what is your go-to when you have maybe a rough day or you're stressed out? What's the usual procedure?
Sometimes I sing, I'm so annoyed. I just sing. But spending time like externally processing sometimes. Having a good, getting a really good night's sleep as well. I'm having some food and being with people, not isolating myself. I think that's my go-to, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny that you mentioned like isolating. How was that whole period that hopefully is behind us? How was that whole period for you?
Yeah, it's a lot of work last year being fully like a music artist, self-employed, singing teacher. Lost a lot of work, but God is so faithful. I was living with some friends for 3 months, and he provided rent in my original home for every month that I needed it, although I lost work. It was just, the amount of provision was amazing, really. We had, I think, between the two friends I lived with, God provided, £50 through the door. Some friends gave me £500 just as a random act of kindness. Financially, God provided. So then it really freed me up to be able to rest, spend more time with the Lord, and just enjoy the summer. And although it was lockdown, just like spend quality time with the friends that I was living with. So it was difficult, but I wasn't able to see my family. But also there was a lot of blessings in it as well.
Yeah, amen to that. And you mentioned your family. So now originally you're from Guernsey, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that where the family are, or has everyone scrambled since then?
Yeah, so everyone's still there. Yeah, literally everyone. I've got a couple of uncles over here, but yeah, everyone is over there mostly.
For people who may be listening from all over the place and aren't quite familiar with Guernsey or what it's like there, first off, tell us where it is, just so everyone knows.
So Guernsey is a little independent island between England and France in the Channel, and we are nearer France, but we're definitely English, but we have our own rules. So we're very independent.
Yeah, and how would you describe life there?
There's a slower pace of life. Everyone's got an island mentality. So there's only 68,000 people living there. So you kind of walk around and you at least know someone, quite often in like, even when I fly home, I'll always know someone on the plane. And it's a beautiful island. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm in the Bahamas or something. And then you're like, no, I'm in the English Channel.
Yeah.
It's just a lovely sunny day. So it's beautiful. I miss it, but I love London.
Yeah. So what inspired that kind of transition for you to come over to London?
So 7 years ago, I was going to go to uni, and then I went to London School of Theology, and that's based over here. So I was just really was university, and then I stayed over here since.
Yeah. It's an interesting fact, because I mean, was it quite a Christianized culture that you found yourself in there, or Christian family? What got you into that kind of theology pathway?
And so I grew up in a Christian family, and my mum is a singer, and then my granddad is a musician and had a choir for 30 plus years.
Wow.
He actually, so my uni, London School of Theology, do summer schools, and for the last 20 years, my granddad has been attending the summer schools, get trained up to just do what he loves. And he suggested I attend one of the summer schools. So I was like, okay, yeah, went one year and then went the following year. all 2 years later, and loved it. I felt like at home and just really praying about what the next step would be, and just sensed that actually, attending London School of Theology was the place that I needed to go to. And so my family really encouraged me to do that. And being a Christian, seemed like the best place to like join my singing and my love for God and get trained up in worship leading and music and theology.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome. I think, I've met so many Christians who'd kind of like to, but you know how it is, different kind of points and paths in life. For some people, it's more complicated than others to dive back into student life and that kind of thing. Do you feel like you did it to inform your music, or was it more of kind of what was kind of the value you were seeking to find there from the theology degree?
I definitely, before that, I just recognized that God wanted me to use my voice to minister to other people. I was even thinking of going to Hillsong College in Australia. So it's just something to unite my faith in music, just because I recognized that actually the Lord had given me the music as a gift. So I think that really was the main motivation, is because I knew that I wanted to honor God with what he'd given me and kind of give back, I guess. That was the main thing.
Yeah. So what were your kind of first impressions of London after making the switch?
Quite overwhelming, I guess. Like I feel like maybe I just made this saying up, but either when you're from Guernsey, either you love London or you hate it, like, because it's just overwhelming. It's totally opposite to anything in Guernsey, like the speed limit in Guernsey is 35, and in England it's double that. It's crazy. The people, everything's intense in London, everyone's in a rush. But there's also just so many incredible experiences, and like the West End and music, and there's just an incredible amount of opportunity for musicians over here. And the music world in Guernsey is growing. But yeah, there's just, for what I wanted to do, it's all really here. And I love it. I loved making the switch to live in London. Getting used to the trains and stuff was easy. Just having friends that had already lived in England and knowing they kind of knew the ins and outs was really helpful. And I've just kind of adapted quite easily to living over here, and it's brilliant. Yeah, I do miss family, but I love it over here.
Yeah, and you see yourself staying, or?
At the moment, yes, I definitely want to stay. I'm just very kind of flexible to where the Lord calls me next.
Yeah, if you weren't in London and you weren't in Guernsey, where would you be?
I'd always kind of want to live in like Bristol or Bath or something, because it's just beautiful and it's kind of smaller, but also a kind of city, and the music life is quite good there too. Or maybe Manchester. Yeah.
So at what stage did you kind of find yourself kind of having a tunnel vision for the music then?
Definitely just as I was leaving school, so 7-8 years ago, I was like, okay, yeah, definitely want to do music. I thrive off music. I'm like, I can do it. I can sing, and what really wanted to do that and get trained up in it, because there's a lot I didn't know and still don't know, and really enjoyed it. Actually, I was like, I get a lot of joy out of this. It's something that doesn't tire. Obviously, it's physically quite tiring, but it doesn't tire me out like mentally. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Tell us how you came then to kind of record your first song. What was the process?
Yeah, so at uni, I did a module on songwriting and really enjoyed it. I've been writing songs since I was about 14 or even younger, actually. Like, I think I wrote my first song, which was really kind of a sentence, when I was like 7 or 8. And then I dabbled in songwriting for a little bit. My mum is a singer. My dad is actually really good at songwriting. So I think I've just hopefully got the mix of both of them. And then at uni, I did the songwriting module, and I was like, okay, I need to think about what I'm going to do for my dissertation. And as part of that, I had the opportunity to write some songs. So I said to the Lord, if I do well in my songwriting module, I'll write some songs for my dissertation. And I did. So I carried on songwriting, which is just a massive encouragement, really.
How does that go, by the way? Because I don't know if my imagination kind of does it justice. What does teaching songwriting and doing a songwriting module look like?
Yeah, so my teachers were Geraldine Latty Luce at the moment, and Kerry Luce, and then Sam Hargreaves. They're all incredible lecturers. So they taught us songwriting. So it was, thinking about rhymes, melody, lyrics, and then like the meter, the beats in the sentence, what you want to write a song about. I've learned a lot more about songwriting in the recent months, kind of collaborating with other people. But there's like so many elements, but I think sometimes you just have to do it. And as soon as you've got something, it's kind of not giving up when you've got like writer's block or something like that. It's like, okay, we'll try again tomorrow. And not kind of, sometimes it's good to set aside time to songwrite in a different location to what you're used to, so you get different inspiration. Sometimes you just have to be ready with your phone or with a pen and paper to just write down inspiration that comes to you whenever. So I think that's quite a lot of kind of inspiration and thinking and listening to other people who inspire you and give you energy over what you want to do. So yeah, I guess that's a little bit about the songwriting. And then with how I came to write my first song and like what EP, I guess, I left uni and I really wanted to do lots of singing full time, but the Lord was like, nope, you need to do something else first. So I did another job for 2 years first, but meanwhile I was writing songs. Every Monday I used to come home from work and just spend time writing and worshiping and just practicing some keys and stuff, and ended up writing 4 songs, actually for another project where lots of creatives get together and there's a theme and you have to write songs based on the theme. So I wrote 4 songs and then I was like, okay, I think I want to record these. So I recorded them with some friends at my friend's church. Just got all my kind of uni mates involved because they're all incredible musicians, and spoke to a friend who'd never produced before. But I was like, Tim, can you produce for me? He was like, well, if you're happy to kind of be a guinea pig, then yeah. And so I wrote the songs and came to him and was like, right, I've got some songs, let's kind of arrange them and look at the chords in them and see how we can make this fit for a band. So then we recorded them, and then had the first release was January, I think January the 14th last year, or 2020. And I had like a worship night and a launch, kind of to really give back to the Lord what he gave to me. And because financially, someone had given me the money enough to pay everyone to do it and pay the designer and the band and everything, really.
Nice.
So then, yeah, my first single, well, 4 tracks came out last year in January.
Go on, name drop.
I've got first song, the title track of my EP is called Anthems. And then I've got I Choose, Grace, and In the Garden. And then Tim Graham is my incredible producer. And then my best friend, Floss, Florence Bishop Hall, she's my designer, as she designs all my everything, all my singles. She's so creative, and her husband, Josh, plays for me and is my guitarist, and we do a lot of gigging together, and I minister with them when they go and lead worship at different places as well.
No, that's awesome. How did you know it was ready? Like, what was the moment you were like, okay, everybody stop, we're done? How did you know?
I feel like I don't know if I did, actually, in all honesty. I feel like I released it, but I think doing that, having that process of my first EP project was like, by the grace of God, went well. But actually, I just think that I think I could have put more work into it. Like, so I spoke with a friend who's a producer and was like, if you're going to, so we had one song was In the Garden, and it's a little bit like Havana, ooh, na, na, very similar chord sequence. But in that, we were listening to that, obviously not the same like meaning in the song. But in that, the artist has got uses like a traditional old jazz piano. For us, we used like a MIDI instrument. So like a computer based, for those who don't know what MIDI is. And so it was fine, but it didn't sound like really authentic and really getting into like the jazzy side of the song. And then we had like a 1975 kind of theme for one of my songs, I Choose, with a electric guitar riff, which was great. But I just think that we could have, like arrangement wise, we could have pressed in, and production wise much more to the kind of real like genre of all the songs, because I wanted the songs to be really different, like genre wise. So just be like, okay guys, this is my music, and not kind of having one genre. At the moment, I'm kind of swaying more towards like worship genre, and then also like CCM pop at the moment. But yeah, it was definitely like a big practice, I guess, my first EP. And I guess there's lots of things I could have changed and still might like rewrite some of the songs a little bit and maybe re-release them or re-record them. But it was definitely great to learn the process and work with different people in it. So far, it's been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's one of those creative burdens in there as well, that kind of, that end point. Like, do you feel yourself to be a perfectionist, or is that way off? How do you feel?
It depends. I think I'm a perfectionist in some things, and some things I just don't have the patience for, and I'm like, oh, I'll just leave it. But yeah, with my songs, I really want to do them well, I guess. And I guess more excellence, but for the Lord, and like knowing that, okay, when He gives us a gift, we need to get trained up in it and we need to use it well, and not let that become a distraction, and finding that there's a tension, I think, there, and finding the balance between using it for the Lord and not being distracted by trying to be the best. And because actually we don't need to be the best, we just need to do what we can and honor the Lord with that.
Exactly. Does it add any pressure for you though? The kind of fact that it's gospel and it's for the Lord. Does you feel like there's a little extra kind of need for it to be awesome?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I think the most important thing for me is that the Lord sees my heart behind it, and I just want to make sure that is pure and focused on Him rather than getting caught up in everything else. And that's hard because there's so many other people who are doing what I do, and it's hard to not compare and hard to not be like, oh, they've got more streams than I have. And actually that doesn't matter. Like if one person listens to the song and meets Jesus, then like job done, like it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how many people. It's just if that one person connects with God, then what else, but also it would be amazing to be able to provide that for lots of people. But if it's just one, there's thousands of angels rejoicing in heaven for that one person. So I think keeping the bigger perspective in it all is important, and staying focused is important.
Yeah, I hear you. Agree 100%. It always feels like a conundrum that you can't really kind of escape from. So like as a Christian, there's not really an expectation of popularity, is there?
Yeah.
However, you find yourself in this kind of cauldron of music where it's so driven by kind of analytics and everything else. It can be hard to kind of navigate. So you've moved on from your first project now. You've been putting out singles consistently. What was your next child? What was the next baby that you put out after the EP?
So I then was part of like a lockdown music project and released a single as part of that, but out of that as well, with a producer from Buenos Aires called Matthias. And so he gave me a track and I wrote some words to it basically. And then we released that in August last year. Then I released Use Me, which is like, I guess one of my most listened to tracks, and I love it so much. I worked with a different producer called Fez, who is incredible, and we got connected through a guy from a Step Forward music organization, and he connected with us and said, you guys should write. So then we organized to write, and then we wrote the song in like an hour and a half or something crazy, and then released it in September. And then I asked to write with him again, and then have just released Friend, which is my newest single. Actually, no. And then on Friday I released Friend, but it's got a rapper in it this time. So we've got like a feature, which is amazing because actually I really wanted to like do another EP, but I just said to Fez, I just can't afford to do another one. And he said, okay, well, we've got Use Me, we've got Friend. How about we get them remixed and get a rapper to feature on Friend? So then we found that was a good way to actually broaden the audience, because I'm using a rapper, I'm using three different people to collaborate with, 2 remixes and 1 rapper, which is amazing. So really thankful to have been able to work with these people. So we've got 2 more singles coming out in the next like month, 1 in 2 weeks, awesome. And 1 2 weeks following.
That's like a Lil Wayne kind of work rate for those who are familiar. It's pretty consistent. That's good. And shout out to A Step Forward as well. I know it's funny for like media platforms don't really get praise in the media, do they?
Yeah.
You got to tell us a little bit about A Step Forward and such, to shine a light for those who don't know about them.
So A Step Forward is a organization which celebrates Christian music. I'm a volunteer for them and do some research for their we have monthly charts where we research all the different Christian artists that have a connection to the UK, whether it's produced in the UK, whether they're UK citizens or whatever it is. And their songs get put on a chart, and the members of the public can vote for them, and then we just get to celebrate the people who I guess most people have voted for. But either way, every time someone is nominated, there's hundreds, like there's 100 plus tracks each month, really, and so we get to just celebrate those people. And it's just a way of showcasing a lot of the Christian music that's out there at the moment. Christian events, spoken word, artwork, music, mostly music, but it's just really a creative platform, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I think running a media company is hard. Running a Christian media company, I think, is even more difficult, and there's no kind of set blueprint in terms of how to do it.
Yeah.
But I'd say that if there was a godly biblical blueprint on how to run a Christian media company, I'd say A Step Forward follows it from every angle that I can see. And every action, every move that they've done has always just been A1.
Yeah, really has.
And I think a lot of artists are grateful just for their existence,
Yeah.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
I think looking at the UK scene, there's just a big void, I think, for a lot of artists coming in. And it's not too bad from a singer perspective, like I think because of the history of gospel music. But from an urban context, a lot of, like, say, Christian rappers felt like they were the first one, just because there's no link to someone else, or no kind of hub where you were exposed to this type of music. So yeah, you guys over there have been doing an awesome job for a fairly long time now, right?
Yeah, I can't remember how long they've been going. I only joined last summer, really, but they've been going for a fair while. And yeah, they've just done it. Shout out to Dennis. Dennis is the organizer of it, and he just works so hard for it all, and I think it's just amazing. Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. I mean, looking forward in your career, kind of. So we have the 2 singles coming, we have the remixes, we have the broadening of the audience. What do you kind of see in terms of what you'd like to project for yourself for the next 5 years or so?
Gosh, I don't know if I've thought about the next 5 years, but I also am recording a live worship album in November.
Awesome.
So I'm just raising money for that at the moment. I've raised $4.5 grand out of 13 grand altogether, to then produce a 10-track worship album. Like I want to record it live, film it live, but also sensitively film it, not just like film everyone like praising the Lord, but just like film it kind of for music videos and just bless people with it. And so I'm still currently writing the songs for that, and using my band of friends and incredible musicians to play. So that's the project, which will probably be released maybe May, May next year. And then after that, I would love to write with Fez again, and kind of just see what happens and what connections I make. Just want to continue to kind of bless people, really, through worship leading, through releasing songs, and training up people and kind of enabling other people as well. I think really have that on my heart, to enable other people, to be like seeing a gift in them, pulling it out, showing them, be like, look at what you can do, and then like releasing them to do it. Really have a passion for equipping other people to thrive in the gift that the Lord has given them.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's along the path now, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's starting out? If there was a young girl somewhere who's just moving from Guernsey to London, perhaps, what advice would you be giving her?
I would definitely say, don't compare yourself, and own the gift that the Lord has given you, and practice, get trained up, and support, and surround yourself with people that will be there to support you and encourage you along the way.
Yeah, 100%. And who's kind of been your inspirations in terms of your journey?
My personal journey, my parents have been a huge inspiration. My mum's a singer, and they've just been with me the entire way. It's been incredible. With music, Lucy Grimble is a huge inspiration. I love her music. And actually Fez, the producer, has worked with Lucy quite a lot. And one of the remixes, Tanya Ilishova, she works with Lucy too. So it's just, I'm just privileged to be able to like be connected with the people that she knows, and how I just see that she's got such a pure heart in everything she does. And she, musically, and I guess who she is, she's a she looks like, I've never really kind of met her properly, but she just looks like a lovely person and is a big inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can squeeze in that meetup in terms of the vision board, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes. Well, so that would be awesome. Anyone else out there in the scene that you'd like to highlight? Maybe someone who you listened to even just growing up?
Carrie Job, I listened to a lot as I was growing up, and then actually kind of heard more of her story and really like resonated with it. And I just think it's incredible what the Lord has done in her life and how she's been able to minister to different people. And yeah, I listened to her so much when I grew up. So she's been a huge inspiration too. Yeah.
Nice. And you're involved in leading worship at your church too, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. How have you found that experience?
It's amazing. I'm taking a couple of months to like lead less, just I don't want to burn out. And I've just invited to lead at a few different churches. And so I want to be able to do that. But also kind of leave some room for like the team to grow and lead to kind of, I tend to lead quite a lot, I think, just because people are on a holiday, it's locked down, other people are shielding. And so that's great, but I just don't want to burn out. So I definitely want to other people to have the opportunity to lead as well. But I love leading worship at church. It's such a privilege to be able to be used by God to like, for other people to encounter heaven. I think it's really special.
Yeah, I've always wondered what are the pragmatics of it. Like, I think as a congregation person, you kind of see the choir step out on cue at certain times. So like they sing, then they sit down. But what's kind of the behind the scenes steps that goes on there?
Within leading worship.
Yeah.
I feel like there's such a kind of trying to get a balance between planning, but then also planning for spontaneity and planning for the Lord to move, because we know He will, and like having a real open heart for that and be like, okay, God, we're going to sing this song. If you want to do anything else, please reveal that now, because we don't want to do something that you don't want us to do. And trying to remain really like open and holding things lightly, because it's the Lord's and not ours anyway. And being in constant communication with whoever's like preaching and leading to see what they're doing, if they want you to do like one more song or something else. And so I feel like good communication with the team is really important, and just like being really flexible for the Spirit to move, and to like be flexible to sing something that's not written down. If God gives you a song, being bold enough to sing it as well. I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, how do you go about choosing? Like, who's the one that kind of sets up the track list?
So we've got like our worship pastor has a bank of over 200, 300 songs. And then each Sunday, when whoever's leading will see what the theme for the Sunday is, what Bible verses are being preached on, speak to the preacher to ask if there's any songs that they particularly feel on their heart for us to lead, and then ask them what the kind of main points are there in their sermon, and then pick appropriate songs there. But then also having the balance of, so there's songs that will help like facilitate people like gathering people into worship, so they're there. And then we want to remember the cross. There's lots of themes, want to remember the cross, want to remember creation or whatever it is, or resurrection or revelation or whatever it is, and then having those times, and then maybe confession, and then at the end sending people out to then spread the gospel. So it's like so many themes that kind of could be covered, and inviting the Holy Spirit to move too. So there's so many things, and so you can't cover them all sometimes, but being aware that you can't all just do sorry God for this, I'm me, and having kind of, and those songs are needed, but also being aware that you need to be able to celebrate God too and worship Him, and it's about Him and not us. Yeah.
I knew it'd be more complicated than I thought.
Yeah. It really is. Oh. But at the same time, it's not, isn't it? Because it's like we're just here to worship God, and it's not us, it's Him. And then it's just like either really complicated or really not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh man, because I guess I've seen a few people. You know how it is. Like, it's one of those ministries where I think there's like a steady flow of people coming in and out of, where like you got the kind of burning out section mixed with this seems like the most awesome thing ever section, mixed with the my mom made me do this kind of section and that kind of thing. So so it's always an interesting kind of dynamic. And yeah, it's good to get an insight of kind of what goes on behind the curtain.
Mm.
Helps me appreciate it a bit too, I'd say.
Yeah.
I always like to close by just asking, what can people who want to pray for you, what would you like them to pray for?
Mm. I think it's a really good question. I would love like greater discernment. There's always lots of decisions that we have to make, you know, being self-employed, what opportunities to take, what to say yes and no to, and to be okay to hold things lightly and kind of have it at the feet of Jesus. And if Jesus wants me to take it. And if not, then I need to give it to the Lord with every opportunity, I guess, that comes, every person I meet. And I guess just financial provision, whether that's through jobs or through gifts or whatever it is, like that I trust that the Lord would provide. Yeah.
Amen to that. Well, thanks for joining us, Jemimah.
Thank you so much.
Especially given what you just said, they'll be hearing more and more of you. And yeah, feel free to come back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat.
So good. You take care out there. Till next time.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Unity sessions. You guys out there, take care. Check out Jemimah's music as well. There'll be links below. Check her out on Spotify. Hit that follow button as well because she's coming fast and you might not be able to keep up. So take care out there.